Let's get inspired with today's guest, Gabrielle Orr, a truly inspiring mind. My name's Adam Gell, and today's guest is Gabrielle Orr. Welcome, Gabrielle.
Hi, Adam. Thank you for having me.
Yes. I have to say, first off, that I've been reading your book on my lunch break, and the times that I've spent reading it have truly put me in a state of absorbing as such beautiful information that has awakened me to all different things that I never knew about. It's such a smooth read, and I try to go as slowly as possible to absorb as much information as I can without missing anything.
Yeah, it's really meant to help people to change their own miracles in life, to figure out, why do I have a problem? What can I do about it, and how can I create something better?
Yeah, the book has almost sort of like, it's like a treasure chest for the soul. There's
Exactly.
information that's just flows, and it's written in a way that anybody who reads it would almost feel like they could get in touch with the information, whether they're into the Akashic records, whether they're into any type of spiritual development. But the information itself is just very interesting.
Yeah, and very, very good, because the masters and teachers of the Akashic records told me to write it in a way that anyone can use it, even if they don't know how to connect to the Akashic records.
How did you come up with the idea of writing this specific book? Going from a more practical book of one true love to this particular type of work, which gathers information from all types of areas of spirituality and information on it.
Well, the book, Akashic Records, One True Love, this one is level 1 of the Akashic Record seminars. And the book, Let Miracles Happen, is actually the content of level 2 and 3 and 4 of the Akashic Record seminars. So level 1, One True Love, is really written as a workbook. So the reader can, do all the exercises, and with the exercises deepen their connection to the Akashic records. And Let Miracles Happen is really just all the information, that we need to address health issues or financial problems or relationship issues at their core issue, not just looking at the relationship itself, but really looking at what are the root causes for me experiencing this problem right now. And then that goes in either past lives or early childhood or energy attachments or energetic cords or any other, problems, root causes that we could have. And then it takes you to what actually happened back then, that you developed this problem with finances or with a relationship or a health issue. It doesn't matter. And the most important part is, where most therapies actually end, is when we have the aha moment and we're like, oh, now we get it, because in that moment we feel good, right, and we go home. But we haven't changed our energy yet. We go back home with the new understanding, and we keep on doing exactly that, what we always did, because our brain still functions by the old nerve connections, the neurosynapses. Right. And so then there's information in this book, Let Miracles Happen, how we can change this, how we can create a new environment, so we don't have to re-experience or recreate all the time the same problems.
Right. The fact that I wanted to mention is, what was your motivation in writing this book?
There are different motivations, Adam. One of the motivations was that I wanted to give people something that they can experience at home. Not everybody is right away interested in really learning how to connect with the Akashic records and going to a seminar. So I wanted to, for example, the first book, One True Love, is very successful all over Europe, and was a bestseller for a while. So that motivated me to say, okay, if people experience so much spiritual development from that book, I wanted to put it also the other three parts of the seminar into a book, but not necessarily only that you can benefit only if you know how to access the Akashic records, because anyone can do that. Yes, with the Akashic records, I get very detailed, very love-infused messages and information, but our higher self will always guide us into the right direction. So if if Akashic records is still foreign to someone and they don't even know how to pronounce it, that's fine. Your higher self will guide you in the same direction and will help you if you set the intentions and if you even go on the quest. So that was one motivation. The other motivation is that when this is for me, my motivation personally, when you put something on paper, it becomes very concrete and very focused. And so I did this for myself. I wanted to put my experiences with the Akashic records into written form. And this book, Let Miracles Happen, has a lot of cases from readings also. And I find these cases so helpful and so interesting, because if someone has a similar problem, then in this case history that's described, they know they can heal themselves too or help themselves. And
Right.
I find this really important, that we understand we are not alone in our suffering. We just talked before our interview about a common friend we have who experiences financial problems and stress because they go into retirement soon. And I mentioned, you know what? We would never think of that, but Oprah Winfrey went through the same experience when she stopped her the Oprah show, and had to start something new. So it's important for us to understand that we are not the only ones who are going through this. And if others went through it successfully and came out good on the other side, that is like rolling out the red carpet. And that is another intention of this book. It's like a red carpet, so you can walk across it and come out better on the other side.
How does it feel to share the information? That's something that you put together and share it with the public. What is the feeling like to be able to construct and to organize all this information and then put it out in a book where the population, general public and population can read it? What's the feeling like? What does it do for you?
Actually, I mean, it feels good, but once the project is finished, I don't really think about it anymore. It's sitting here on the window of my desk, and yeah, you think of the next project, because it takes a long time for a book to be published. The process is about 1.5 years. So in that 1.5 years, you already started a new project, a new creation. The universe inspired you to something new. So I feel good about it, but I don't really think about it, or like,
Right.
it's not like a sense of accomplishment. Maybe I should work on that, but no, it's just something that, I mean, especially a book, not just for me, for any writer. It's you create something out of metaphysical energy, something that you can't see, and you create something physical that you can see, read, touch, put somewhere. So it's nice to see that, but I don't celebrate it or think about it or anything like that.
I guess certain personalities, I guess people who are more on the path of seeking, have that drive to keep going further and never being satisfied in a place where they created something, and they're always wanting to expand or create more. I know for myself, when I did the documentary film, I noticed that once I completed it, I noticed that the accomplishment was greater for me putting it together more so than actually completing the project itself. It gave me a greater sense of satisfaction to be able to do it, be on the journey of doing it, and then once it was completed, it was almost like a letdown that it was over.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that feeling, is
I
shared
don't,
by other people or people who create something.
I definitely, I don't know. Um, I do feel satisfaction with it. It's not like I'm driven by, not by me not being satisfied. It just
Right, right,
happens. But it's not something I want to rest on or or just celebrate and like, oh,
right, right.
wow, I did this, or I wrote a few books and they're being translated into different languages. No, that's not what thrives me.
So what does drive? What's your motivation and what's your drive?
I my real drive comes from working with people personally, by seeing how they grow, how, when they tell me, man, my life has changed in the last year so much because of the seminar I took with you, for example,
Right.
that makes me happy. These personal interactions, and I can see it too, that makes me happy. That is also, there's always a growing factor in there for me too. You never just teach without growing yourself
Right,
or
right, right.
learning something yourself. That is what drives me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because with a book, it's kind of anonymous. I don't know who reads it and what emotions they go through when they read
Right,
it.
right, right.
They might throw it in the corner after the second page, or they take it and put it under their pillow every night, or take it on vacation with them and send me a photo of it wherever they are. So I don't know the person who's reading the book. But then when I have a face and an energy and they're telling me about it, or they are asking me for an autograph and tell me what miracles they created,
Right.
that's what drives me. That makes me happy for them. And that makes me want to keep on going.
You mentioned something in the book, which is very stood out to me. We know that when we have thoughts and we create through our imagination, we're able to project our thoughts into the universe, and then through those thoughts, if we're patient enough, we somehow receive back the reflection of what we were thinking about or what we were dreaming for or imagining for. You mentioned something in the book about 28 days that you receive from the Akashic records when a person's behavior needs to change. So a lot of times what happens is people give up before they stick through the change in their lives. And you mentioned that it takes 28 days or something that you receive from the Akashic records. Could you just elaborate a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I I think it's a tiny little bit different, or
Okay.
okay, at least as how I remember that I wrote it, but that's fine.
Yeah.
So the 28 days is right. I will say something right away about that. So to create something new doesn't take any time. It could happen immediately. We notice that usually, anything that we are experiencing in life is because we created it. Also the negative part. Okay. So sometimes we just have to talk about something and bang, the next day we have that ache somewhere, like,
Right. Right.
so that is actually great news because it shows you what a powerful creator you are. Now you just have to create the things you want and not create the things you don't want.
Right. Right.
The 28 days is specifically meant for deep rooted patterns we have.
Okay.
Let's say someone has a real issue with receiving prosperity. Okay, maybe they create it, but they immediately spend it or lose it. It goes somewhere. Okay, and that root pattern, the root of this issue comes from an early childhood experience where maybe the parents or the environment was always the energy field of we can't receive prosperity. So the information of the Akashic records was, it takes like 2 years for bone cells to regenerate, or skin cells takes, I think, 7 months for all of your skin to renew itself. And they say in order to really work on a deep-rooted pattern, to let go of it, it's usually we can go for 28 days. 28 days is the cycle from one moon, full moon to next full moon.
Right, right.
So there is an energy in the 28 days in that cycle. The way they explained it is that, let's say from one full moon to the next full moon, we are going through all the new moon, no moon, and then half moon or whatever. We go through all of our emotions in that cycle. So if we would work on a pattern, let's say for 5 days, you don't go through all of your emotions, because we have emotional highs and then we have periods of where our energy goes a little bit lower, and we need to work with all of these emotions on the same pattern. And they're saying that is usually 28 days.
Okay. Yeah, I was reading it in that whole to-do list, the whole checklist of things that you had mentioned in that area was very interesting. Getting off the book a little bit, and discussing more of, like how do we recognize our soul voice within ourselves, as opposed to our ego voice? Like, what is the difference between the two, and how would we be able to recognize it?
Okay. I'm asking them. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know where they're going with that. We just start talking. So they're saying, if there's a music you like and there's a music you dislike, there's a vibration that you like and there's a vibration that you don't like. There's a taste that you like and then there's a taste that you don't like. So they're saying the energy of the soul is an energy that allows your cells in your body to expand, to relax. Okay, an energy of the ego is usually making your cells, your body constrict, contract. So the energy field gets narrower, gets smaller. So that is one thing how you can recognize, is my body right now relaxed or is it constricting? Is it contracting? Another way to recognize is, because they're saying it's not this easy. There's not one answer. This is how you know it's the soul. This is how you know it's like
Right.
Your ego. Because as a soul being, you do go through tests and through challenges, okay? Through periods of growth. And in a period of growth, you sometimes don't know what your soul is and what your ego is. So you have to rely on that, what you know. You have to trust. And they're saying, and your soul will always guide you towards trusting, and your ego will always tell you that's not safe. Don't do it. Okay, so in general, it would be more like the Course in Miracles, the soul, anything what has to do with love, and the ego has to do with fear. Okay, but it's not always, it doesn't always look so clear.
Right.
Let's take a real example, okay? Let's say someone has the opportunity to create a business, okay? Doesn't matter what kind. And so how do you know yay or nay? How do you know your soul is saying, yes, go ahead with this business. This is good for you. You are creating wonderful things for the world with this. Or how do you know your ego is telling you, yes, it's good for you. You know, this will be a good opportunity for you. So sometimes you don't know, but it's not about knowing if this is the right path. It's about going the path in the right way. Do you understand the difference?
No, a little bit. Maybe you could just
Okay,
elaborate a little.
so it's not necessarily for you about, yes, do I do this or not? It's about how do you feel in the process of doing this?
Okay.
Okay. Can you stay while you are proceeding with this? Can you stay in the energy of love, or do you go in the energy of fear and contracting? Okay.
Okay, so you basically that feeling, as you just mentioned, that you received is the expansion or contraction.
Correct.
Is
So it's really about you being conscious, about you saying, I know this is stressful or fearful, but I'm willing to trust. I'm willing to go with the flow. I'm willing to look at the goal. And then, sorry, not to look at the goal, to look at the positive
right.
in this experience, and staying in tune with what is good for your soul being, not just focusing on the outer experiences.
Yeah, I kind of get that. I have that feeling of when something passes through my thought pattern, I could feel the expansion, knowing that something feels good, and feeling the contraction when something doesn't feel right. So that's basically a nice type of tool to use to.
I give I give you a totally honest example from my life, okay?
Sure.
When I published the book One True Love, was the first book that got published for me. I mean, I had no idea how publishing works and how it works is with to work with publishers.
Right.
Um, and I have really good experiences. I mean, Random House treats me so nicely. But like a week before it got published, I had this dream and I woke up and because I thought, what if the people throw tomatoes at you? You
Really?
know? Yeah,
Yeah.
because there was so much fear coming up, okay? So I could have easily gone into the ego and into fear and panic and whatever. And then I woke up and I'm like, no, just you have to trust that you're doing it with the best intention and only with love. And I mean, nobody's forced to buy something or to read something, you know?
Right.
So, and I'm just like, I'm trusting this. I'm trusting that this is the right thing to do. I'm not focused on success or anything. I'm just focusing on my intentions. What am I intending to do? And there's always a win-win. It has to be a win-win situation. Okay.
Right.
For me, it's a win-win-win. Three entities. The win is for the Akashic records, the win is for the reader, and then for me. So if you have more than one win situation in
Yeah.
something, I think it's always from the soul, not just from the ego.
So what role does the ego play for us? If if what is its purpose?
Hmm. Some some things are, you have two opposite to create one whole. You have two sides of the coin to create one coin. You have the light and the shadow to create one.
Right.
You have, so they're saying the ego is the other part of who you are, and the soul, the soul and the ego are the two parts of who you are in this physical form. Once you are on the other side, you are just soul, you don't have the ego anymore. So in order to live in this environment, and you have the shadow, the ego, and the light, the soul, and the two together that makes one whole. So the ego is really, the way they are saying it is there to keep you, to bring you to your awakening, to bring you to that what you can really be.
Okay.
Because if it would only
Right.
be soul and there would be no ego, there is no measurement. You would just be in bliss and you wouldn't even know it.
Right. That's interesting because if you look at the chakra system, I guess the first chakra holding the ego and holding us to the ground, roots us in that position, allows us to be present a little bit more, and then at times going higher to a more soulful experience keeps us grounded and having a connection to other realms or the universe itself. And I know in shamanic healing, they talk about the energy flowing from the ground into our bodies and coming around in a certain pattern. And just it's interesting because many of the people that I know who are not naysayers but skeptical on any type of spiritual growth, their egos are very strong. They lack that soul side to them, as you just mentioned, the other half, or the yin and the yang balancing. So I guess it would be fair to say that it would be almost like you have to have both on an even playing
In a
field in order to.
balanced way.
It has to be balanced. Okay,
Yeah.
very interesting.
But I think sometimes a better way would be also if we give a different word than ego.
Okay.
So let's say some people are just more afraid.
Okay. Right.
Okay. Or more dense in their energy. Okay. So the light cannot easily come through. So they are really, really still focused on their survival techniques. The more you are driven by survival, the more afraid you are, the more active your ego is. The more you can go with the flow and go into trust. There's this awesome word in German. It's called Urvertrauen, which means the
Origins of trust.
or yeah, but it's not even, doesn't even mean the same, because Urvertrauen is something you're born with. You just
Right.
trust it, you know, like it means like
In,
the real trust, like the
inherited.
yeah, yes, there's no word for it in English, which I think is so interesting. But it's like a trust into source, into God, that you are born with. And you know, the more you are in fear and in controlling and in dominating, the less you actually have this trust into source, because you make yourself the source of everything. You know, you
Yes.
are
Yes.
the source of where the money is come from, of survival. You cannot trust into another source. And the lighter you are, the more soul shines through, the more trust you also have. And you actually really co-create with this other part, with this creative part. You know, we are people who are in ego, they don't co-create, they create, they want it for themselves, and they are in survival mode. So if we look at the ego as fear, as dominance, not having trust, you know, then it becomes more obvious if the ego is operating or if we are coming from a soul level.
Yeah, we're used to dealing with not only a political system but a general the society in itself being power hungry and rooted in a more dense energy. And I mean, we could see it in what's going on in the political world and all over the world right now. And it's kind of frustrating for me to see how people are operating and out of that place. Um,
Well,
yeah,
in our society, um, everything that comes from the left brain is promoted, because it's more career driven, you know,
right.
it's about success. Anything that comes from the right side of the brain, the creative parts, the sensitive parts, they are diminished. You know, even in the health in the health business, or even business, the word itself, you know, but
Right,
in
right.
the health industry, which is the wrong word too, it's more left brain dominant, you know, like harsh things. In we don't look at why is the disease there. We look at how can we suppress it, how can we push it down, you know. So as long as we have a left brain dominant society, there is a lot of ego that is also being promoted because you're driven. It starts in schools, you know.
Yes.
Children are, this is good if you do left brain activity, you're good, you're successful. But if you're an artist, you're only successful on only being promoted and celebrated if you're on the level at Picasso, for example. You know,
Yes, yes, yes.
all the artists in between, which every artist has to get through to become successful, is not being promoted or not being accepted. You know, oh yeah, it's cute, or yes, it's nice. So you have to
Right,
be
right.
on the top level to even be accepted and appreciated. And that is sad. I think a lot of our human culture gets lost in that.
Well, the education system once went from almost hands-on, even though it was years ago, from people using woodworking, auto mechanic, and now it's just numbers. It's a numbers game, and a lot of the children are left behind, as you say. There's no middle ground for anybody. It's extremes. It's either
Yes.
complete dominance or a faltering. Where do you see, in your opinion or in your insight, where do you see society going in terms of spirituality, people accessing higher realms with the Akashic records? What do you foresee through your own interpretations or asking the Akashic records itself?
I think looking at what you mentioned, the political system here or in many other countries right now, this is how I look at it from a spiritual perspective. Spirituality grows when suffering grows. Okay, in order for people to go to spirituality, they usually suffer first. Nobody is totally happy and says, oh, let me get into spirituality, let me see what else is out there. Okay,
Right, right, right.
so the more suffering comes to the surface, or the more tired people are of suffering, of stress, of worries, the more they will turn eventually to spirituality. Um, so I think spirituality is just coming to the surface.
That's interesting, because my next question is how would you describe the path to a spiritual journey? So
Yeah, it's
these,
through, I mean, I tell my people when they take my seminar, I say, I'm sorry, guys, but nobody comes to us without a problem. Okay.
right. Yeah, that's true. So then why are we here? Why are we on this plane at this? Why are we given this experience?
That is a very general question. Let's see if we can
Make it more specific.
yeah, no, if we can answer this. So what's your most favorite food?
I would say my most favorite food is probably Mediterranean food, grilled
Okay.
chicken.
For me, it's like a good Swiss chocolate or some nougat chocolate. How would you know?
Oh, that's
You wouldn't be able to taste it if you wouldn't be here. You know?
right.
So that is one reason why we are here. What does it feel like to love someone? You know, so I understand the question. I just want to come at it from a different angle. We as human beings, we have to differentiate. We say, this is good, this is bad. This feels good, it tastes good. You know, the chocolate tastes good, vinegar tastes not good. I don't like that. But on a spiritual level, it's all good.
Yeah.
Because it's good that you can taste vinegar. It's good that you can taste chocolate. Then you
Right.
create your preferences. So from a spiritual perspective, we are here to experience. And then out of these experiences, we say, oh, I like being married. I wouldn't mind, experience this intimacy in a relationship again. Or we saying, no, I've been there, I've done that. I worked through my issues. I looked at my emotions. I can be more honestly with someone in an intimate relationship
Right.
without signing a contract. Both is good, but it matters what you experience, how you define it. And that's, I think, why we are here, to have an experience.
Right. Right. Very interesting. For society, it's either black or white, um, light or dark, and the inability to find a middle ground with things, as you mentioned before, but also in this case, many people who have no faith, not faith in God or faith in the universe or an energetic force, people become almost lethargic or just stuck in the same pattern of what they know, as opposed to changing and looking into doing things that could maybe enlighten them. Um,
Can
I
I
don't know.
say something to that?
Yes, yes, yes. Go ahead.
Because I really think people are just so overwhelmed with all the things they think they have to do. And it creates a little burnout for them. And they don't have joy to live anymore. Like it's like all the same. It's like they're creating this everyday routine without ever stopping to smell the flowers, so to say.
Yes.
And by being always busy and always pushing us to the next thing and to the next thing, and never having this break in between, this space in between, we are losing the taste for everything. We are eating without tasting. We are watching without feeling. We are communicating without really listening. So we are losing the joy, the variety that life has to offer. I mean, now it's basically what Eckhart Tolle always says, but that's why he's so successful, because he got it right. You got to create space in your life, stillness, room and that desensitizes your senses. I mean, it makes you sensitive to things again. If you are not happy in life, I would say 85 to 90% of the people who say they are not enjoying life, it's because they are doing too much. And they're always trying to do something else that makes them happy and excited. And I'm telling you, it's the other way around. Do less, find more time for yourself, really, maybe enjoy the yoga moves really, or something.
I notice myself that when I take a walk into the woods or the forest and I just amongst the trees and on a path, that when I come out of there, I feel like a different person.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you do to invigorate your soul again and to regain that equilibrium and that sense of invigorated spirit?
Okay, I have a few things. The first thing is I go to the Akashic records. That is for me beautiful. I get I know the information is not coming from me, because the answers they sometimes give me, I would never get, so that is always the highlight for me. I love going into the woods. We live in the middle of the woods. You can see it behind me in the window.
Yes.
I mean, we are in the middle of the woods. Bears and wolves are our neighbors. And I go every day with my dog into the woods, no matter what the weather is. That is for me a big part of my well-being, of my internal well-being. I also like to sing and dance. Nothing that I would share publicly, because I'm not this good. That's my husband's territory. But every night we turn on the music loud, like nothing even exciting. We listen to what's it called? One Direction, for example, like dance music. And
Yes,
then
yes.
when I prepare things for the next day, we're dancing while we're listening to the music. You cannot be in a bad mood if you sing and dance. You just can't.
Sure.
Okay. And sometimes I don't feel like listening to music. Oh, you know who I really like to listen to also is Louis Armstrong.
Yeah.
He has just happy music. There's not one sad music there, song there, and it just always gets me into a good mood.
What a wonderful world.
Yes,
It's a
that's
good
a
song.
perfect song.
That's a
Yes.
beautiful song.
Yes.
I used to sing that when I was a kid. I remember the trumpet. And
Yes.
beautiful song.
And his big cheeks he would get.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
expansion of his cheeks.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years related to this particular work?
Okay.
Like,
where do I see myself? When I think back the last 5 years, I could have never imagined the experiences I had. I just could not have imagined it. I would never even have thought this big. So I have a wish. For me, I would be totally happy if it just continues the way it is now.
right.
I don't think it will stay like this. I think it will change. Every change, even if it looks great on the outside, comes with an internal growth factor. If it gets bigger, you need to hire people to help you, to assist you, to support you, which is fine, but it's a growth factor. I've never saw myself having a team.
Right.
And now
Is it
yeah.
difficult? I'm sorry to cut you. Is it difficult to involve a team in something that you built yourself up and now sharing with other people to assist you? Is it a difficult process to include other people in something that you've developed?
Sometimes. I mean, I have two ladies. They are awesome. Petra Balchowait and Jana Mileva. Jana does all the technical stuff. Petra is like my big sister. She's really supportive on an emotional level and everything. I have Roland, who does a lot of the emailing, answering. This is all for the European side.
Right.
So it developed with them. It was first a friendship, and then it became into the work relationship too. But I
Right.
think foremost, I'm still friends with them more
Right.
than I want them to be as happy as I am. I want them to get as much out of it as I do. And I think they are very happy. And we talk about what do you want. So it works really well. And then there are people who come and help out in a seminar, which it has to match energetically, but there are the others could replace them, like
Right.
for
Right.
the same kind of work. Where with Petra, I don't think she's replaceable, or Jana, and Roland becomes a little bit irreplaceable too. So it becomes a very deep connection, but I never thought I would work with people like that and have someone like I need support. I never saw that for me. But it was difficult for me to accept it, that
Right.
the workload becomes so much that I don't want to do it alone anymore. The reason for me when I changed, what was, there comes a point where you have to ask yourself, do you just want to talk about what you do, or do you actually want to live it?
Right.
And
Right.
for
Right.
me, it was, I want to live it. And that means I need help, because I
Okay.
only have 24 hours in my day also. And I
Right.
can't do it all alone. And ever since I made that decision, my life is so much better. Yeah.
That's interesting. Where are the, your, do you have online classes, I know, and also you have seminars throughout Europe. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I go twice a year to Europe, usually in the spring and in the fall. Um, we are in beautiful buildings, like beautiful rooms, and the seminars are just, it's 160 to 200 people every time, but then with a team of 8 people who will assist them, so they are always taken care of. Because we are not just giving, I don't give a talk. It's it's an interactive seminar. You learn something, and what you learn you can use with other people. So the quality has to be guaranteed. You can't just pack thousands of people in there. It has to be quality control, you understand?
Yes.
So yeah, that's how it works in Europe in the personal classes. But then I teach also the same material online, and that is every time over 2 months. So we meet only once a week, and then the participants have time to work on the material. And I create private Facebook groups where they can exchange and find partners. And oh, you are in one of the German groups, right?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, there are 800 people,
Wow.
and 800 people who have taken the seminar level 1 to 4. And this group is amazing. They are constantly offering each other support. Hey, someone says, I want a reading on Friday at 4. Does someone have time to exchange a reading with me? This is my dream. Yes. And I think you need that after a seminar. You need to have like-minded people where you can exchange, the same vocabulary, and someone will understand you. Because it's not always in the same town where you live that people, have the same energy vibration or really understand you. So we need to create a safe space where people can talk about their emotions and their growth, their development.
Like if you speak to some people, they'd say, how did you come across, or how did you develop an interest in wanting to know about the Akashic records? I would not be able to give them a specific answer, but maybe you would be able to define that better.
Well, when people would ask me that, I tell them, well, I did not believe in anything like that at all. And I'm talking 30 years back when I was in my early 20s.
Right.
And then someone forced me, so to say, to get an Akashic record reading. And the moment she started to talk, I knew the information was not from her. I just knew it. It was so detailed and so full of love and understanding. And I said, oh, wow, I want to learn this too. Yeah. And for me, the biggest change was that I got to see things from a different perspective. I got to learn who I really was, what matters to me, and I could improve my life on every level. Relationship-wise, health-wise, joy. I have a totally different level of joy today. I didn't even know that existed back then. Financially, whatever, it all is, important and belongs together. So, and if Akashic records do that for me, it does it for anyone. There's no separation. Oh, I give it to her, I don't give it to this person. No, that's not how the universe works.
It's such a relaxing feeling to be in the Akashic records, to open up your records and have that feeling come over one.
Yes.
For myself, the energy is very, very loving and very peaceful.
Now, when I have an online seminar, for example, okay, there are like 99 people can go on the online seminar, and we do an exercise, and we compare the answers, okay? From the 99 people, okay, -3 from the team, So the 96 people, I promise you, 90 people, when they read their answer, there is the word love in the answer.
Yeah.
You know, and that is my motivation, Adam. When
Yes, I
you
can
feel
imagine.
that, when you hear that, I
Yeah.
mean, this is like nothing else matters anymore.
Yeah, it's true. It's the funny thing is that when you feel that love or that energy, it's such a soothing and comforting feeling that it just bathes your whole body in that. And
Yes,
a lot of times people go into the Akashic records to get answers, but I guess the energy itself is also one of the benefits from the whole process.
that's basically really that's the most important part. Yes, the words are nice so we can understand it and share it, but the energy is the part that heals. And if you really think about it, it's like the moment you don't need the moment you wouldn't need words anymore to communicate. That's the moment when you really get it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes, yes,
Yes.
I do. Well, well, I don't have any further questions unless something you'd like to speak about.
Hmm. I know I don't have anything that I would want to add. I mean, every conversation about the Akashic records is always something different. Um,
Yeah, I wanted to feel your perspective on your
yes.
own personal world, how it is integrated into the whole process. And because,
I
yeah,
just, the only thing I would say, if someone is listening to it and they are right now in a difficult moment in their life, you know, then really use that moment for what it is. Yes, experience the challenge on the human level, but also allow yourself to recognize, wow, I'm experiencing this because something else inside of me wants to grow, wants to develop, wants to find not just the solution for the relationship or the money issue, but also wants to find something more substantial. And that could be the Akashic records, could be something else, but don't deny yourself the deep healing and find a spiritual solution for your suffering. That
that's,
would be, yeah, that would be what I would have to say.
that's excellent, excellent advice. Your book, Let Miracles Happen, where could readers who are interested in reading this wonderful book find it?
It's on Amazon or Kindle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been recommending it to everybody. I don't know if there are a lot of people who are ready for the information and people on their way to learning it, or being open to all the information that's in there. It's truly you you gathered so much helpful information. Many of the areas that I've been reading on with Irvin Laszlo and many of the other Edgar Cayce, and the whole vibration of sound and integrating it into yourself, sleeping with certain noises and sound vibrations to improve your energetic field has been very helpful. If you put everything together, what like a treasure chest, like I said at the beginning, a treasure chest for the soul.
It's
So
it's a mix between the spiritual path and then science, and how science explains things and how we can benefit from that explanation on the spiritual level. So it, you know, it talks about the placebo and what you can do to use that information for yourself about the placebo, or about the neural pathways in our brain and how we can utilize that knowledge to create better things for ourselves. So it's a mix between scientific facts and spiritual, how we can use it in our spiritual development.
there's one thing I forgot that I wanted to mention. You also
Yes.
mentioned that the affirmations that you developed for yourself that apply to your daily life, and how repeating these affirmations make changes. Could you just review that a little bit and discuss how that's helpful?
Do you mean the tape, making a tape,
Well, I
or?
don't mean the tape, but I also mean like you had mentioned Louise Hay and her specific affirmations and how they change the your vibration by sending through our voice and through our vibration. When we say it, or we speak it, or we write it, how does that change things for us?
I'm honestly not 100% remembering now what you mean in the book, or I don't know what you refer to, but I tell you about affirmations in general.
Yes.
Affirmations, everything you say is an affirmation.
Okay.
I am this, I am that, it's an affirmation, okay? Now, when we want something in particular, it doesn't help to just change the words. Like if I say, I want to be a billionaire, okay? From the energy I have here to the energy of what I'm asking for is such a big gap that in my mind, I'm saying, it's never gonna happen. So I already cancel this affirmation, okay? So I find it much more beneficial if you actually make goals that you feel like you could achieve, but stretch yourself a little bit, okay? Could I be a millionaire? Yes. Could I be a multimillionaire? Yes. So, I'm using money as an example because it's the clearest. It works for anything, okay? So think of what you could make or and then stretch it a little bit where you still think it is, yes, achievable. However, having said that, do it in a playful way. Don't be so, okay, so like you're constipated or whatever. Do it in a playful way because it works better if you do it in a playful way. And that brings us back to what we started with. If your energy when you create is contracted, how can you receive what you ask for? Right. Because then you come from ego, you come from fear, you come from, I need this to be happy. But if you come from, okay, let's see what I can create, let's say this month, this year, and I'm creating this and this, and I want to see within the next week 3 examples. The universe sent me 3 examples that I'm on the right path. Okay, 3 confirmations that I'm doing the right thing, or where I could still adjust so I really get what I want. So if you look at it a little bit more playful, like you're creating something, like you're painting something, you like, I don't like this red, let me make this yellow. And that's how you create for yourself, whether it's money, relationship, whatever.
So a little with joy, more joyful.
Yeah. And like clay, you change it, you adjust it, you make it so it fits your energy. And you always know that you already have it. You never ask for something yet that you don't have already.
Right.
Yeah.
And I understand that.
Because if you don't have it, you can't get it. You can only get what you already have, whether it's in physical form or in energetic form. Right. If you want to have $1 million, you have to offer the energy of $1 million. You can't offer the energy of, oh, I'm broke, I can't have anything, nothing works out for me. You're never gonna get $1 million like that.
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes we experience the need to grow and to change, but yet sometimes we're surrounded by people who are not yet or aren't prepared to go in the direction that we're going in, and sometimes it doesn't, maybe constricts a person as opposed to allows the person to flourish or to expand. What do you advise people what to do in situations where they're surrounded by an environment or people who get in the way of that, so to speak?
Well, that can apply to many people and to many environments. Let's say it like this. If I know what I want and I focus on myself and I go ahead on this path, the people that you're referring to, they either grow with me or they will grow out of my life.
Right.
Okay, whether it's a relationship, friendships, work environment. So that's one thing. The other thing is, if I have someone in my life, let's say a spouse, and I want something and I feel resistance or whatever, I would also ask, how do his emotions relate to me? What do I need to know about this? Because it could be also that they are reflecting something back to you that's actually you. So they are holding a mirror in front of you.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's not so easy to give a general answer to that. But in general, if you are going, whether you like it or not, they either grow with you or they grow away. They fall apart. Or then you also look like, how does this relate to me? What do I need to know about this emotion that my partner is experiencing also?
Right. Right.
Yeah. I have to say I give you a different example. Sometimes people come and they say, I want to quit my job and only do spiritual work. Okay. I want to only do Reiki or healing touch or Akashic records. Very, very seldom do I hear the masters and teachers say, quit your job and do only the other thing.
Right.
Usually, and this has something to do with the person, who's asking the question, but usually they say, keep on doing what you're doing, and then the job will fall away automatically. You don't really have to go and quit, okay? So once you tip over the 51% over to the other side, the rest something will happen and it will fall apart, or a different opportunity will come up. Maybe they offer you part-time position or whatever. So I was surprised in the beginning that they wouldn't say, yes, go ahead or whatever. And then I asked why. And they said, because if we tell them to quit their job, all they're going to focus on is their survival. And the survival energy is like an anchor to what they want to do. And then they sabotage themselves. But if they continue and the survival is guaranteed in form of a paycheck from this other company, then they can thrive. They can focus with joy on their other endeavor. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. That's very interesting. Okay. I've gathered a lot of information, and I'm sure the audience has as well. I want to thank you for sharing this time with me and the audience. And it's always a pleasure speaking with you and being in your energy as well, because it's very calming and peaceful. It's almost soothing after a while. I think Nico Balshavite, he interviewed you recently on his podcast for the soul, which was very, very interesting as well, which I recommend viewers to watch as well, which I'll put on the screen. And he had said during the interview that he became not mesmerized, but he had an inability to he was listening to your information and he bathed in the energy. It was almost relaxing and yeah.
Nico is like my brother to me. We used to work for many years together. I'm very grateful to him. I've learned a lot from him. And for example, with him, when I worked with him, that was just everything fell into the divine balance. It was like a tennis match. We would know each other's sentences, but not because we are like as human beings maybe like this so connected, but it was just the energy of the Akashic records. It was wonderful to work with him in the seminars. And now this is something too. Perfect example, proves exactly what I just said. then his energy went into something else. He does crystal healing now in his center in Germany. And once it was 51% and it went over the scale, the Akashic record work with me fell away. And at the same time, something new grew for me. So it was a perfect situation for all of us. You understand? He didn't
Yes.
have to quit or say anything like this. It just developed very peacefully and organically. Yeah, so we were both very blessed with that.
So as you said, so being in the joy of things and
Yes,
not constricting, but more so expanding,
correct.
creates the abundance and a more
Yes.
receiving environment for yourself. Well, yeah, you
And
have a
you,
way. You have. I just want to say you have such a dynamic way of creating analogies that people get.
yeah, that
It's
I think it's important. Otherwise, you just talk and you don't even know what you're really talking about. So it's
right.
good to use a lot of examples. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah, but you're also a great teacher because you give the information and then you let a person develop and they
Thank you.
yeah, it's very nice.
I love Adam. My
You're
pleasure.
welcome. Yes. Okay. Nice speaking with you, and we'll talk again. Thank you, Gabrielle.
Thank you.